the other weight loss companies, Weight Watchers and MetaFast, they haven't been doing so well either, and they have different problems. I mean, Weight Watchers has membership. They're not gaining any membership, whereas retention has been good. In MetaFast, they're finding retention has fallen off because people don't want to order the second month of food. So if you had to characterize maybe your business in terms of the consumer and how they're behaving, like maybe you could give us a little color. Is it more new membership growth, or is it more the retention that's suffering? Like, give us a little bit more color on kind of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I would say that it's really it's a really good question. I think that primarily the activity of our network has had more headwinds from this current environment, as any direct-to-consumer company would have, exacerbated by the complexity of the nutritional offerings that we made, which that is what we're improving, okay? Because we gave so much, this is just a real consumer-facing merchandising issue that, you've got this volunteer sales force, effectively. They're not employees. They're just trying to do their workouts and inspire people on social media. And what then those people who are like, hey, I'd like to do what you're doing, they come in, they got a more complex offering as we've gotten more diverse with our product offering. And that's what we feel like what we saw from the 4-week gut protocol program is we were so prescriptive and so specific about what to get that program really hit its strides. And the other ones where we're sort of offering a broader suite that, again, this isn't a sophisticated sales force. These are people, just regular people like me, just trying to get their workout on and put a little group together. And then when it comes down to, well, which supplement should I use? They're really relying on the company to be prescriptive. And that's what we're fixing in the back half of the year and into 2023. So I would say it's this relationship of a bit of the environment that we're in. As Mark said, people are traveling. Now's not necessarily the time to be pursuing body transformation because you don't know how long you're going to be able to be out and about. And on the other hand, some of the weakness or friction in the merchandising that we're cleaning up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you for your question. Our next question comes from Kaumil Gajrawala with Credit Suisse. Please go ahead.
Hi, guys. Good morning. I guess first a question on liquidity. Is there, with the increased funding, are you now and with the, changes in your capex and your cash burn rate, are you now past the point where we're, thinking about if there's 6 months of liquidity left or 12 months of liquidity? Do you think this is sufficient, or is there a timeline and perhaps you have to come back to the market at some point in the near future?
Yeah, Kaumil. Well, look, what I would say is we already felt that we didn't need additional cash, to make the changes we're making in the business. So when you look at how we materially reduce our cash burn down to $6 million this past quarter, really the increment going forward is a lot more controlled from our part to make changes to our platform to position it for growth. And so this liquidity we've created with this debt facility is actually not to get out there and spend it and fund our operations. We're funding all that through existing operations, all the changes we're making. So I think honestly it's just a safety net. So we don't foresee going out and needing any more capital.
Okay, great. And then can you talk maybe just a bit about the trends you're seeing on customer acquisition and such, particularly you're in the middle of this large launch. What do the costs look like in this environment versus what they might have looked like a year ago? Just giving us kind of a general sense on, is it getting more expensive? Is it getting more efficient? Can you just maybe talk a bit about what you're seeing there?
You mean the cost of acquisition?
Yes, customer acquisition.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, that has remained steady, quite honestly. and it's not the primary driver of the business. The primary driver of the business is the flywheel is we create great content. That content is put in the hands of people who love what Beachbody does. They're called our coaches, and they put groups together that bring people together to go through that program. In this case, Lift More is an 8-week program. The cost of acquisition in the coach network are all direct, meaning we don't experience those costs unless a sale is made. So the only question is demand sufficient? And we're very pleased with how Lift More is doing here. It's not you wouldn't normally think as the summer as being the peak of fitness and weight loss season. And the approach that we took with this, because it's a sequel to one of our most popular programs called Lift 4, has really been to lean into this concept of the people who loved Lift 4 to follow on with the sequel. Our network of coaches is primarily female, so it's been great to see that this particular program is also appealing to men, and couples are doing it together. So as here we are in the first week of August or so, we're actually pleased to see how that program continues to sell. It was launched in the last half of July, and it continues to create demand. But in terms of the cost of acquisition, that is pretty much fixed because it's transactional.
Yeah, and Camille, what I'll add to that, if you compare to a year ago, our selling and marketing expense went from 62% of revenue down to 48%. So in that, you have that very variable component that Carl's referring to in the coach network. And then the balance around what we spend in the media space is highly disciplined. Now, we'll evaluate if we've been too aggressive there because we've been very, very diligent and aggressive payback. And then our third route to market is obviously cross-selling into our own database of 2 million customers. And that I would say honestly, we're refining and improving because there's room to do a lot better there, and we're working on it right now.
Okay, great. And then, with every company, we're trying to, the street's trying to work out what would be the implications of a recession. You guys have been around for a while. I respect that your business is a little bit different today than it would have been during the last few cycles. But can you maybe just talk about what you've seen in the past when you're in a recessionary environment?
Yeah, well, if there's one thing that I'm after a couple decades in this that I'm proud of about this company, we've been through 3 of them, 3 downturns, and we, first I would say, as any responsible CEO is never going to take for granted how you're going to do because you don't know what the demand patterns are going to be in any recession, right? But we have been fortunate enough to find great opportunity in those recessions because you've got, on one hand, people who are perhaps looking at their monthly spending and going, yeah, do I need this $100 or $200 a month fitness membership? And as they're perhaps tightening their belts a little bit, that's when they might move over to a more cost-effective in-home digital solution. And we've benefited by that a number of times. Likewise, our coach network actually gets more productive in a recessionary environment for 2 reasons. One, the household is trying to offset higher prices from inflation, but also contraction in what might have been their primary income has this requirement of motivating them to be a little bit more aggressive about how they might get productivity in helping other people get started with a Beachbody membership. So we sort of get this little bit of a tailwind that happens because of where we sit in the economics of a recession. But like we can look back to 2008, 2009, we actually experienced double-digit growth back then, and I don't see any reason for us not to, if we're smart, to possibly be the benefactors of the economic environment.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Our next question comes from John Komp with Baird. Please proceed.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Just one follow-up on the guidance to start, Mark. Would you be willing to just clarify what you're expecting for the adjusted EBITDA loss piece and then the cash usage piece, just, within